We ought to have some questions from the floor, I think. We have a couple of roving microphones here. If people would like to hold up their hands, I'll do my best to accommodate. Lady at the front here, perhaps we could begin with.
You said that...
Sorry, can anybody hear this?
Can you hear me?
That's better?
Yes, much better. You said that your father was very fond of you. I just wanted to ask, you haven't talked about your feelings about him.
My feelings about him, I think when you're very small, as long as you're being watered, fed, having a nappy changed, you're quite content to be everyone's friend, really. But that's rather a glib answer. I think I was, yes, I've had very fond memories of him, and I think because he was away such a lot. I mean, he was ill in hospital for long periods of time on 2 occasions, and it's a difficult question to answer, because I think probably I would have taken time, or had he lived longer, then obviously there would have been a far deeper love between the two of us. But as far as he was concerned, certainly the bond was between him and me, and I think the bond was growing between me and him, if that's of any help to you.
Any other hands going up here? Yes, gentleman at the back. Which looks like James Walton to me, yes.
Just wanted to ask you when you first read George Orwell books, and what the kind of history of your reading them. Do you like them, I suppose?
The answer to that is yes. I first read Animal Farm when I was at prep school. And funny enough, my Uncle Bill, I picked up 1984 when I was about 13 or 14, and strangely, my Uncle Bill said, don't think it's quite suitable just yet. But I read it very soon afterwards. And those are obviously the first 2, because they were school books as well. I mean, we had to study them at school as well. I started reading them obviously later on as I got older. And I think really the ones that I like best are in fact his essays, which I think are absolutely wonderful, full of gentle humour and wonderful observation, and quirky.
Just out of interest, what do you think, had he lived, what do you think that he would have written then?
He did say before he died that he thought he probably had at least 2 good books left in him.
Because he started writing a novel about Burma again, didn't he? Just before.
I believe, yes. I think he would have. I don't think he'd have written so many books. It's hard to say, of course, because you've absolutely no idea. But as soon as someone dies, then that's it. You've no idea what they might have thought or might have done later on. I think he'd have probably continued doing a lot of journalism and essays. I think he enjoyed writing his essays very much.
He liked being smothered under journalism, didn't he? He complained about it, but he liked it.
Yeah, well, I think he liked it, yes. He liked to sort of write about little odd subjects which kind of tickled his fancy.
Any more hands going up? There's a lady at the front there. Thank you.
Well, you say that you have quite the constant memories of you with your father. Which ones is your favorite, or the one that kind of sticks out in your head the most?
Of my memories, well, it depends. Favorite. I suppose really the one that sticks out most of all, of course, was being nearly drowned in the Gulf of Corryvreckan. I mean, that will stick on your mind. Trust me. And believe me, the water's damn cold up there as well. So hypothermia, of course, was something that we would have, although we hadn't really heard about, but would have been a real possibility. So I do remember that vividly. I suppose the other one was splitting my head open when I was watching him. He was a wonderful father when it came to making things. He loved working with wood. Not particularly good, but he liked to make things for me. And I was watching him one afternoon in his bedroom, or presumably his bedroom where he was doing it, and standing on a chair, and I just fell over, and I hit my head on one of these enormous jugs that you have in old-fashioned bedrooms, on the washstand, and split the damn thing open and split my head open, and you can imagine what happened next. It was floods of tears and blood and and everything else that goes with it. So I remember that quite vividly too.
Where was the nearest hospital to get your head stitched?
No, well, no, we called a doctor up from the village. We sort of met halfway. I had the doubtful pleasure of going to see the doctor's grave actually a few years ago on Jura, so I remember that quite well. But I think he was an alcoholic, by the way, which is not unusual for that part of the world.
We had a question in the middle. There was the gentleman who's got the microphone at the moment.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I don't know if there's any recordings of Orwell. I know he did a lot of radio work.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
I'm afraid there's no recordings as far as we know.
It's probably another one of those banal questions then, but what did he sound like? I mean, what was he, a conversationalist? Did he...
He had actually had quite a thin voice. He didn't have quite a sort of reedy voice. Now, don't forget, of course, in 1938, when he was in Spain, he stuck his head over the parapet and took a bullet through the throat. The moral of the story is don't stick your head over the parapet, really. I mean, if he'd been 5'6" with his hands up, he would have had it right through the forehead. So he was extremely lucky, unlucky, but getting the bullet through the throat certainly didn't help, and it did affect his voice quite markedly, I believe. But there's nothing in my mind that rings a bell as to how he actually sounded. And nobody knows what we could really say what he sounded. But I do believe that his voice was quite thin.
Gentleman there. Sorry, I've got my eye on the lady there too, but the gentleman there in the front.
Hi. You said you did your own thing. Now, was this in life? Was this sort of in reaction to George Orwell's life that you decided to do something else, or because you didn't want to be part of that, or?
No, not at all. I'm not literary. I don't write. So, being brought up on a farm, I just simply went into the farming line. And just pursued not out of any, because I didn't want to, I didn't want to divorce myself from him, or it's just the way it went.
Which is something, of course, that letter foreshadows, doesn't it?
Yes, yes.
Noting how much you enjoy.
Yes, and I guess I just simply carried on enjoying what I had been brought up with.
What he raised you to,
yes, absolutely.